Hi friends, welcome to this latest episode of the Nationalist View. And today we are going to talk about 100 years of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. As we all know that RSS was set up in 1925. It is the world's largest voluntary organization. On Vijayadashmi this year, it is completing 100 years. This is part of a series of conversation which me and my friend and my guest also, NC Bipindra, we will be having over the next few weeks, trying to break down and demystify the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, because not only its critiques, but at times a lot of its supporters also or sympathizers also, they also do not know about the finer details of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, its ideology, its framework, its history, its functionality, its worldview. So, let me introduce Bipindra has been with us in the past also on our podcast. And Bipindra is a senior journalist, is a veteran journalist. He's also a Supreme Court lawyer. And he has worked with international agencies like Bloomberg. He has also set up a think tank called Law and Society Alliance. It's a prestigious think tank which is based in Delhi and which works on contemporary geopolitical issues also. So, Bipinji, welcome to this conversation. And for our viewers, so this is not going to be a typical Q&A session which podcasts have, or which generally the structure which we follow in which we have followed in our earlier podcast also. It's going to be a conversation between me and Bipindraji, as both of us have been tracking RSS. So we'll share our thoughts and information with the viewers. And then this is part one of this series, and we'll carry on with the conversations in the next few parts also. Today we are going to talk about broadly time period of between 1925 to 1940, or you can say roughly between 1900 actually to 1940, because we're going to talk about the founder of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, that is Dr. Keshav Baliram Hedgewar. So, Bipindraji, over to you.
Thank you, Arun Anand. It's a pleasure, and it's a very contemporary topic. The entire world is actually observing and trying to understand what RSS is, because there has been no other organization. It's the only single organization in the entire world that has survived for 100 years without any splinter groups, without any differences within. And also, it's a great study of how even differences are resolved within the organization, and the organization stays together. And of course, we all know that on August 15th, 2025, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, during his Independence Day speech, mentioned the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh as the world's largest voluntary organization. So that has also sort of kindled this curiosity about what RSS is, and what do they do, and what is their were they founded, and all these things. I think Arunji and myself today we'll try and have this conversation to demystify most of the issues, particularly the period that Arunji just now mentioned, 1900 to 1940, when RSS was founded. Just as Arunji extended this courtesy of introducing me, I should extend that courtesy to Arunji. Arunji is a very senior veteran journalist, and Arunji and myself, we have been friends for a very, very long time, and we have been even colleagues at the Indo-Asian News Service at one point in time. He was taking care of the Hindi service, and I was with the English service of Indo-Asian News Service. Arunji is a very senior journalist. He is a contributing editor to the News 18 group. He also writes for Money Control, First Post, News18.com, IANS, and several other platforms. And he has a very popular, this particular, the Nationalist View is a very popular YouTube channel that he's running. So it's a pleasure to always have a conversation with Arunji. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am not a layman, but still, I think this conversation is going to be to demystify a lot of issues for the English audience. To the layman from the English audience, we want to understand what RSS is, and also try to understand the controversies relating to RSS, and what is the truth behind those controversies. That's the effort. So let me begin, Arunji. I just want to understand from you, since you have already written several books on RSS or RSS founders. It's Sarsanghchalaks, the series of Sarsanghchalaks, its work and several things. Let's understand. 1925 was the RSS founding year. Dr. Keshav Baliram Hedgewar, as you mentioned, was the founder of RSS. So it's about 100 years. So when the RSS was created in 1925, and the circumstances behind the RSS's creation, what was the reason, or what was the circumstances? What was the reason for this for the creation of RSS itself? What is your view on that?
Thank you, Bipindra ji. And see, when RSS was created in 1925, so that was a time when India was fighting. India was having an independence movement against British colonialists, and India was fighting, a war of independence, you can say. So at that time, just if you look at if you look at Dr. Hedgewar, so Dr. Hedgewar was a revolutionary. He got educated in Calcutta, which is now Kolkata. He obtained his medical degree from there. He could have practiced. He got, in fact, an offer also from Thailand to go there and practice there, but he decided not to go there, and he decided to be part of the freedom movement. So it is very well documented that he was part of the revolutionary movement and he was part of several revolutionary groups in Calcutta who were trying to have an armed revolution against the Britishers. And then he went to jail also as a part of the civil disobedience movement in early 1920s. He was also part of, he later came to Nagpur and became part of the Congress. And he was very closely associated with the Seva Dal also, which was an extended arm of Congress at that time. And then Khilafat movement happened. And during Khilafat movement, a section of freedom fighters thought that the way Mahatma Gandhi was looking at things, so this Hindu-Muslim, so-called Hindu-Muslim unity, so it actually turned into the appeasement of the Muslims. Then Mopla riots happened in early 1920s in Kerala, which was basically not riots, which was a genocide of Hindus. But Congress decided to overlook that. So, and in between, Lokmanya Tilak, so who was, you can say in popular parlance, right of the center in the Congress at that time, and who had a huge following. So he passed away around 1920. And so all these things, and in fact, Dr. Hedgewar and one of his mentors, Dr. Munje. So after Lokmanya Tilak had passed away, they went to Puducherry, where Shri Aurobindo was living during his sannyas days, and they requested him to come out of sannyas and take charge of the Congress. But somehow that did not happen. Shri Aurobindo decided to remain. So I am mentioning this thing because most of the people associate the 1923 treatise of Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, which was titled Hindutva, as the core ideology of the RSS. I beg to differ from that. I think RSS is more influenced by the concept of spiritual nationalism, which is very well propounded by Shri Aurobindo. I'm not saying that what Savarkar's ideology did at that time, or Savarkar's treatise Hindutva is not important. It is important. But Sangh believes basically in the concept of spiritual nationalism, which is very closely associated not only with Savarkar, but also with Shri Aurobindo. And if you go back a little bit, Bipin Chandra Pal, he wrote a very beautiful book in 1911. It's called, The Soul of the Nation. Then Bankim Chandra Chatterjee. So Rabindranath Tagore. All these, things actually basically formed a background where Dr. Hedgewar started thinking that what is the root cause of the problem? That why we have to, for the last 1,000 years, India has been, despite being, such a strong country, why India fell to the invaders? And what is the guarantee that if we get independence, we will not fall to the invaders again, or will not be colonized again? So he realized that the problem is that there is no unity in the Hindu society. So if the Hindu society is united, we will be able to build a prosperous nation. So that is how he, in 1925, he decided that I have to basically, and for building the Hindu society, you have to prepare men and women of characters who think about what you call these days, nation first. So that was the idea he took at that time, and he decided to set up an organization in 1925. But it was not a formal process. In fact, around 17, 18 people met at his residence and they decided that, okay, let's start an organization. And then they started meeting regularly, sometimes on the playground. So it was actually basically after about an year or year and a half that the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh was named, this organization was named Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, and then a regular daily shakha was started. So this is the background.
Okay, that is interesting. So what you're saying is when in the 1920s, when the freedom movement, the Indian freedom movement and the freedom movement leadership at the time was looking at gaining independence from the colonial rule of the Britishers. Here was a doctor, a medical doctor by profession, who was trying to find the root cause of the disease. The disease meaning the slavery that India had to go through. So he was not looking at just about gaining independence. He was looking at trying to fix the disease that had decayed the political body of India itself, Bharat itself. That's what he was saying. And also the ideological thing about Savarkar that you mentioned. So it's not just about Savarkar's the Hindutva book that he wrote, but it's also about the ideological continuum of various leaders who have been thinking about it, of spiritual nationalism, of cultural nationalism that you mentioned about Bipin Chandra Pal, Balagangadhar Tilak. Of course, Balagangadhar Tilak's the Vinayak Chaturthi movement is a big movement that he created for the freedom struggle itself, actually. So that's an interesting thought. But I was curious about your comment on the Khilafat movement. What exactly was Khilafat movement and how did it contribute to the thinking that an organization like the RSS is required? But what is actually the Khilafat movement? Because a lot of people don't understand what Khilafat movement is and how it had impacted India and what was the role of the Congress leadership at the time, particularly of Gandhiji, and how it had impacted the decision to create an organization called the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh.
We have to, Khilafat movement, basically, we know the Ottoman Empire in what we call today Turkey or Turkey. So there was an Ottoman Empire and there was a caliphate, which we in Hindi call generally Khalifa, which was considered to be one of the topmost, religious political leaders, you can say, or politico-religious leader of the Muslim world. So, in the second decade of the after the First World War, so there was a movement which started that a Muslim caliphate should be established because if we look at the post World War, First World War situation, so the European countries or the West, those countries who had won the war, so they were redrawing the map of the Middle East, what we call the West Asia also, and Turkey also. So there was a movement that amongst the Muslim world that okay, all the Muslims should rally around and they should again have a caliphate. Now that was a very communal, kind of or a very radical Islamist idea. But Mahatma Gandhi thought that okay, we can to bring the Muslims in the nationalist mainstream, it would be important if we support the Caliphate movement or what you call the Khilafat movement, actually, basically. So this Caliphate turned into, the Khilafat and Khilafat actually means basically opposing. So it turned out to be opposing the British rule because the British rule was opposing this Caliphate movement also.
The creation of caliphate, yeah.
Yeah. So this movement happened and that was actually basically the beginning of the appeasement of the Muslims in India. And in fact, no, in 1905, in Dhaka, Muslim League had already been set up. In 1905, 1906, Muslim League was set up in Dhaka, if I correctly remember. And then there were communal riots. After that, in Singh, the riots went on for months. Singh is in Bangladesh now. And there was tense situation. And here, Hindus were asked to support the Khilafat movement. So there was a lot of resentment against that. Then, as I mentioned earlier, the Mopla genocide of Hindus happened. So there was a deadpan silence about that. So, this uh, Khilafat movement actually was a turning point in Indian politics also, because the streak of appeasement of Muslims to bring them into so-called the national mainstream. So that continued during the rest of the decades, ultimately leading to the nation or to Congress succumbing to the pressure of Muslim League and Britishers. We saw incidents like Direct Action Day, where thousands of Hindus were killed in a single day, and then ultimately led to the partition. So, Khilafat movement in that context is important in the historical sense that it formalized the process of appeasement to the Muslims in name of bringing them to the mainstream. And we also have to, look at this situation that when this Khilafat movement started, so Mahatma Gandhi ji was not the unchallenged leader of, the uh,
The freedom
Congress
movement.
party. So there were a lot of other, senior leaders also. But if you
Mm-hmm.
look at, interestingly, so gradually all these senior leaders, so after especially passing away of Lokmanya Tilak, and because,
Mm-hmm.
as I mentioned earlier, that Sri Aurobindo did not come out of sannyas. So
Correct. He
then it
refused
was a
to.
Nehru
Mhm.
Gandhi Congress, basically.
Correct.
And let me tell you, Dr. Hedgewar, one of the key opinions of difference which Dr. Hedgewar had with that time, with the Congress of that time, was that the Dr. Hedgewar wanted Congress to pass a resolution in its Nagpur convention after Lokmanya Tilak had passed away for Purna Swaraj, which
Mm-hmm.
Congress did, later on, but Congress was not ready for that. Whereas Dr. Hedgewar wanted a resolution to be passed on Purna Swaraj. And in fact, when during that civil disobedience movement in around 1921-22, when he went to the jail, so there is very
Mm-hmm.
interesting trial which happened. So there was a British judge who was at that trial, and when Dr. Hedgewar pleaded, when Dr. Hedgewar kind of argued his case in the court, so he did not ask for any clemency, or he did not ask for any reprieve, or did not ask for any pardon. He made a speech, and when the judge gave the judgment, so he said, the defense of the accused was even more provocative than, the speech for which, he has been arrested under the charges of sedition. And there was a crowd of thousands of people outside when Dr. Hedgewar was held guilty
Mm-hmm.
under sedition charges, and he was jailed, and he was there for several months. And then when he came out, I think it was there for probably 18 to 21 months, and it was rigorous imprisonment. And when he came out, so there was a reception which was held to felicitate him in and then that reception was presided over by Motilal Nehru, who was the father of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru.
Jawaharlal Nehru.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and if I correctly remember, so Kim Ajmal Khan was probably also, present there. So there were a lot of,
Mhm.
cutting across.
Congress leaders,
Yeah.
party lines, and
Yeah,
political
he was
divides.
cutting across
Correct.
party lines, and he was felicitated at multiple places. And Dr. Hedgewar then also participated in what you call the Jungle Satyagraha after 1930. And there also, and lot of Samsevaks had participated. So just like the Namak Satyagraha, so there was Jungle Satyagraha in areas of Maharashtra. We
Mm-hmm.
also have to keep in mind that when we talk, and then of course, if I extend it a little bit, so in 1940s also, the Sangh Samsevaks played a key role in the Quit India movement. There are
Yeah.
British CID reports which say that
Mhm.
that Sangh is growing. Sangh is the major cause of concern for the Britishers. The way it is growing rapidly, and these CID reports are on record. They are available in the National Archives. I have also written about that in my book and in my articles, giving specifically which are the CID. So, if for those who say that what was the RSS contribution to the
Mhm.
independence movement, so I have narrated a few things. And one important thing, Bipindraji, about which I also want your perspective is, that
Mhm.
it's a little. contentious issue also, but I think we should discuss it. And the concept of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, or the idea of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, was a very positive concept. It was not to counter Congress. It was not to counter Muslims. It was not to counter minorities. Only
Right.
two. Yes, it was one to counter the British so that we can have, our independence. And second, it was more of an introspection kind of a thing. It was more of a positive concept that we have to bring the Hindu society together. So that for building our nation, for preserving our nation, and I think that was the concept. So it was not a negative concept. So I think that is one of the reasons, because anything which started with a very negative formulation or anti something, so that in our Indian traditions we say that generally does not last long. But Sangh has lasted for 100 years, and it still remains very young. And
Yeah.
as you rightly mentioned, I think it's an exceptional situation where there has been no factionalism, whereas there has been no contest for the leadership, where millions of disciplined, self-disciplined cadres. So they work unanimously, inspired by Dr. Hedgewar. I also want to bring in another interesting aspect that there is Smriti Mandir in Nagpur at the headquarters of RSS. So Dr. Hedgewar, that's a memorial of Dr. Hedgewar. So when he passed away, so after that, the second Sarsanghchalak, Guru Golwalkar, MS Golwalkar, popularly known as Guruji. So he said that he did not want any memorial to be made. So they have a very small Smriti Chinna, this thing.
Correct.
And then the
Correct.
third RSS Sarsanghchalak, Balasaheb Devras, he made it mandatory that after here onwards, there will not even be a Smriti Chin or even a small, memorial. And in all the RSS programs, only three portraits are to be kept. One is Dr. Hedgewar's, one is, of course, Bharat Mata's portrait.
Bharat
Second,
Mata in the center,
yeah,
Dr. Hedgewar on the right of Bharat Mata, and
and
Shri Guruji on the
yeah.
left of Bharat Mata.
So,
Even the third Satsang Chalak said he should not keep my photo also.
yeah,
Only these three photos should be kept.
yeah,
And also there was a tradition that Sarsang Chalak used to be cremated in Nagpur. Devrasji broke that. He said, wherever I pass away, you cremate me there. So that was also one of the things that happened. Or Rajendra Singh, one of them said that. And from then on, wherever the RSS Sarsanghchalak passes away, that is where their body is cremated. It's not taken to Nagpur as the previously it was done. So there are several things, and also there are hundreds of thousands of Swayamsevak who work tirelessly without seeking name, fame, money, nothing. In fact, most of them spend their own money to do the work of the RSS. So that is what is quite unique and interesting about this RSS as an organization, and the organizational behavior of RSS needs to be studied. There are a few books even by Westerners who have written book. One of the popular one is by Walter Anderson. He has written two books. One he did it some 30 years back, and another one he did it about for 10 years back. So there are two books that Professor Walter Anderson has written. That is a book that people need to study if they want to understand RSS from a neutral perspective. So that is something that is there. But one thing that is very interestingly that came to my mind is you mentioned about the RSS being formed by a group of 17, 18 people in a very informal structure, right? So there was nothing, there was no name, there was no office bearers, there was no structure, nothing when the first meeting took place. So, but how did this, organization come to be through the inspiration of Dr. Keshav Baliram Hedgewar? If you can just cover that aspect of it, of how the RSS came to be, from the first meeting that they had on Vijayadashmi Day in Dr. Hedgewar's residence, and how the name came about, all that.
see, in 1920s, after a few months when this organization had started, what we know today as RSS, so there was a meeting at the residence of Dr. Hedgewar. Those who visit Nagpur, so they can still visit that house also. I would suggest them if they can go and visit. So that house has been kept intact, and you can see the room, where the first meeting of the RSS had happened, and you can also see the room where that meeting had happened, where this decision of naming the organization as Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. So then this meeting took place. So Dr. Hedgewar said that okay, we have started, now organizing a little bit more. So let's have a formal name of the organization. So several suggestions came, and there were four or five names which were finalized, and then finally there was a unanimous decision around 1926 that we'll call ourselves Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. But Sangh took a conscious decision not to have any formal membership process. So today also there is no formal membership process, and so anybody who goes and joins an RSS shakha, so that becomes person becomes an RSS Swayamsevak. So and once you become an RSS Swayamsevak or volunteer, you're always a RSS Swayamsevak, whether you go to an RSS shakha or that you don't go to an RSS shakha. RSS considers yourself to be basically part of the family. But prior to that, the institution
One,
of
one, one second.
yeah.
One second. Here I want to just clarify something because the RSS considers anybody who comes to the Shaka for the first time and does the pranam of the Guru that they consider the Dwaj, the Bhagavad Dwaj as their Guru. So they once they do, they are considered as a Swayamsevak, right? But the person who has done that may not think that he is a member of the RSS also. That is also a possibility. He may have come and done a Dwaja Pranam, but he is not a Swayamsevak. He doesn't consider himself a Swayamsevak or an RSS member. There are examples of that in history. We will talk about it on another episode. Just one small clarification was
No,
required.
absolutely. That's why in RSS they say there are two categories of people in society. One is those who have
Uh,
joined the RSS, the other is categories of those who are ultimately going to join the RSS.
yes,
So the RSS people are Ajat Shatrus. Basically, there are no
yeah.
enemies. So
There
anyway,
are no enemies.
but one of the important thing, the key institution of which Dr. Hedgewar had set up, that was the RSS Shakha. It's a daily gathering of about 1 hour, where there are physical, games which young people play. And if it's a morning shakha, generally, if the older people are coming, let's say they call it Prabhat Shakha, they are there is a Prabhat Shakha and there is a Sayam Shakha. So in Sayam Shakha, it's an evening shakha. Generally, students from school and colleges, they come, they play games. Then there are some intellectual discourses. There is some chanting of mantras. And then there is, in the beginning of the shakha, the flag is hoisted, the saffron flag. As you rightly mentioned, we'll do another episode on why saffron flag. But in
Yes,
RSS, no individual is considered to be a guru. Dr. Hedgewar took a conscious decision that saffron flag will be considered to be the guru by
yes.
everybody, because he used to say that people can have imperfections. So it's better basically not to make an individual any guru. So I think that is also one of the key reasons that RSS has been able to continue its journey, thrive, and flourish without any friction within the organization, because the focus is not on individual, the focus is basically on the cause and ideology. So this Shakha thing was started by Dr. Hedgewar, and he used to, and the idea was very simple. Like when we eat every day at our home, so the utensils, they get dirty and we wash them every day. So similarly, individuals, when they roam around when they are in the society, so there are a lot of negative influences which come to us, and which cover our heart, body, mind, soul. So that thing needs to be cleaned every day, so that
One
next
hour
day,
of washing.
yeah, one hour of basically that cleansing process which needs to be done, so that every day, so your heart is shining bright for your nation and for your society. So that is why, and this also brings in discipline. But initially, let me tell you this how this has evolved. So initially there used to be a 5 or 6 day shaka. There was not a 7 day shaka. So it later on basically evolved into a
Became
7 day
every day.
shaka in around 1930s. It started. Also initially a lot of commands and the RSS prayer used to be in Marathi, or the RSS prayer was in Marathi, And then the RSS, the commands which they used to give. So many of the commands were basically were in Marathi or some in English also. But in 1939, those who want to study the RSS, around 1939, a very significant meeting happened in Sindhi. Sindhi is a place in Maharashtra. So there the brainstorming happened, and the what you see today in terms of the RSS training camps, in terms of the RSS, the structure of the Shakha, the RSS Prarthana, a Sanskrit Prarthana, was created at that time, and then and it was translated also basically, so this is basically 1939 Sindhi camp. So from 1925 to 1939, many experiments were done. It was not that, right from the beginning, but we
Right
see.
from the beginning, the RSS as we see it today
Yeah.
existed. So
So it has,
it was an evolving organic transformation that happened.
it was.
So yeah, what you essentially are saying that RSS is not very rigid. It is willing to change itself according to the times of the need of the times. That's what you're actually saying, and everything evolved organically at some point in time, and then it was adopted, and then maybe even changes happened. The uniform has changed.
Uniform
So
and Bipinji, if you remember, the RSS passed its first resolution on any of the temples, in terms of securing the temples. It was 1959 in about the Kashi Vishwanath temple. But it
correct.
took up the first
Ayodhya temple.
movement it took up was Ayodhya movement. So I always, what I have realized as a student of, literature on RSS, that uh, most of the people think that RSS has an agenda, and then it mobilizes the society around it. But it is the other way around. The
The
RSS
society's
senses
agenda is taken up by
what is the
RSS.
mood of the society,
Yeah,
and then they
correct.
basically mobilize it, because the
Mm,
one thing which Dr. Hedgewar made very clear, and that is one of the core principle which needs to be understood for those who are tracking RSS, or those who want to understand RSS. The this core principle is that RSS is not an organization within the society. RSS is organizing the society. So
yeah,
the Sangh does not fit into a any typical, organizational framework. And that is why not only its detractors, but its sympathizers also fail to understand at times that,
correct.
why RSS does something, or why RSS has changed a stand on something. So RSS is just organizing, and that is what you mentioned, a very important thing, that uh, one of the key characteristics of RSS, for which it is known worldwide, is that the RSS volunteers do not take any credit. They are basically the eternal backroom boys.
Correct.
Right. So, and why? Because they feel that we are not doing anything. We are just facilitating the society to organize itself. So, whatever credit has to go for anything, it has to go to basically the society. And if there are any gaps in between, so for that Sangh is responsible, because it means that we have not been, we have not been able to facilitate the organizing of the self-organizing of the society very well. So
Correct.
this core principle was two core principles which Dr. Hedgewar, two, three core principles which Dr. Hedgewar laid down during 1925 to 40. These principles have remained unchanged over the previous 100 years, and they will remain most likely unchanged over the next 100 years, because that forms the what you call the soul of the RSS. So one I have mentioned right now. Second is that Bharat is a Hindu Rashtra. It is not that Bharat is going to be a Hindu Rashtra.
It is
Bharat is a
already
Hindu Rashtra.
always has been.
Bharat always has been a Hindu Rashtra, and Bharat is a Hindu Rashtra. And for our
Mm,
viewers, in two lines, I'll say Hindu is basically, but when he said Hindu, it does not mean that there is a particular way of worship with which Hindu Dharma is related. Hindu, basically what he meant was Hindu Dharma, which is a way of life, some eternal values like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, welfare for all, good, global good basically. So that is the essence of anybody who follows the objective of global good, that person is a Hindu. And Rashtra means not a geographical entity. Rashtra if you look at the literal meaning of Rashtra in Sanskrit, it is one that takes you towards enlightenment. So Hindu Rashtra means values of which preach global good or whose objective is global good, and those values which are taking you towards enlightenment. So that is the concept of Hindu Rashtra. So he always said that Bharat is a Hindu Rashtra, as you rightly mentioned. And so these are the core principles which he said. And during his time also the RSS training camp started. Initially the first training camp, if I remember, was held in around 1928 or 29. And the RSS was founded on 27th September 1925. But as Sangh also follows the Bharatiya calendar,
Calendar, yeah.
what you call the lunar calendar, so they don't celebrate actually. They, recall their founders' day on the day of Vijayadashmi, the festival of Vijayadashmi. So, on whichever date basically it falls. So, this is
It
what.
falls.
But I want your take on, because Bipindra, you have, uh, you know, worked with international media also. So, why Dr. Hedgewar, and not much after, over the last few years or so, people have started talking about Dr. Hedgewar. But how do you look at this situation? That why there have hardly been any books about Dr. Hedgewar. There's hardly been any discussion about Dr. Hedgewar. Why such basically kind of lack of any discussion? Was it because the RSS consciously, or maybe because of its style of functioning, it kept things under, I won't say it kept things under wraps, but it was not much interested in talking about its Sarsanghchalaks, especially the founder. But and this thing was happening while, because you have worked with international media also. So the RSS was getting branded, right from the beginning, as two things. One is that the RSS was a stooge of Britishers, and it did not participate in the independence movement. One. And second, basically, that that RSS was set up as a Hindu majoritarian paramilitary fascist organization, and it was equated with Hitler.
Correct.
Some Sarsanghchalaks have been equated with somebody like Hitler, and Sangh's philosophy has been equated with Nazism or fascism. And for that, to 1925 to 1940, this period during which Sangh was set up by Dr. Edward, it becomes very significant because the whole argument has been based largely, fundamentally, on evolution of Sangh during this period. But Sangh never tried to, as far as I know, consciously correct this portrayal. So why no discussion about in our textbooks anywhere? Sangh is the largest voluntary organization in the world. So how do you look at it?
Yes, actually, Arunji, it's a very important question because only in the contemporary times that a lot of people have started getting interest in RSS, knowing about RSS, including the foreign media, international media that you mentioned right now. So, I mean, you rightly mentioned all the descriptions that the RSS used to get, all the epithets that were thrown at RSS on several occasions. There was one more thing that they used to do. It was used to be called as a secret paramilitary force. So as though it is some Nazi SS organization or something like that. But it's absolutely humbug for the simple reason that RSS, uh, as we rightly discussed, the purpose of the RSS was much larger than just about getting freedom from the Britishers. So essentially the RSS's idea was to get India to its pinnacle of glory, or reconstruction of Bharat to its pinnacle of glory from all the gloom that Bharat had witnessed due to the thousands of years of slavery that we faced, right from the time the Islamic invasion started. Muhammad bin Qasim in the early 20th, during the early times of the contemporary era. So that is the
During 8th century,
yeah, during
8th
8th
century,
century,
18, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so that was the situation. So from then on, The idea behind the RSS, as we rightly pointed out, was to create a treatment for the disease that had crept into the society. So essentially, RSS was focusing on that. So this blame that RSS did not participate in freedom struggle is again not true, because I mean, we should mention about this. Why RSS people are not after posts and positions. Dr. Hedgewar himself set an example. When this non-cooperation movement was announced, Dr. Hedgewar himself resigned as the Sarsanghchalak, or the topmost leader of the RSS, and went and participated as a congressman in the movement of non-cooperation, and he asked a lot of Swayamsevaks to volunteer in the movement itself, not as RSS office bearers, but as individuals, but as nationalists, but as patriotic people to participate in it. So he himself was not behind positions of power. He readily sacrificed his position and nominated somebody else, somebody else nominated as acting. Dr. Munje became the for a brief period, and then he went and participated, and he came back. When he came back, they requested him to take over the leadership position once again, and he took over. So they kind of efface from this kind of being in the limelight, or being in the forefront, being in the media, and all that. So for several years, RS has been shunning publicity as we know it, media publicity, media interaction, all that. They silently did their work in the society, but that doesn't mean that they were secret. They were an overground organization. All the police records talk of several RSS activities that have been going on all over the country, because that even the British police were observing what was happening with the RSS. They were tracking RSS activities. So they were all overground workers, basically. They were not. There was no underground work that they did. So essentially, we were by nature, RSS workers shunned publicity. By nature, they did not want limelight. So that is how the RSS functioned. So that is what has caused this misunderstanding among the public, the international media, and for several years this has continued. But the strength of the RSS is that their groundwork is so strong that slowly acceptance has happened. In the recent years, people have started accepting RSS and its thoughts and ideas, because they were all rooted in the soil, in the Bharatiya soil. Even their organizational structure, their ideological leanings, their policy, as you rightly mentioned, society throws the agenda at RSS, and RSS picks up that agenda. So it is always an organic process by which the society and the RSS has interacted. They don't want to create an organization; they want to organize the society. That's the idea behind it. For that reason, only this kind of all these epithets were thrown at RSS at various points in time, and rightly the people of India have rejected those epithets, and they have agreed. So let's talk about the 1920-25 to 1940 period, the Nazi growth that happened, and the World War II that ultimately culminated in World War II. RSS never ever accepted the Nazi idea, ever. In fact, a lot of people misquote MS Golwalkarji on the Nazi issue. In fact, he has actually rejected the Nazi idea of their that Nazi nationalism that they, or even fascism that they did. So, despite all that, people have been spreading lies and against RSS and its, and particularly against MS Golwalkarji's writings. See, any individual, their thought processes change. Like, for example, Jayaprakash Narayan was a huge critic of RSS, but during emergency, he became a supporter of RSS. So people do change their views on issues, right? So at some point in time, if somebody has written something based on the international geopolitical situation of that time, that doesn't mean that they are going to be holding on to it for 100 years. People do change their ideas, people do change their opinions based on their experience that they have had, and based on the better understanding that they get over a period of time since the time they formed an opinion at a certain stage. So the writings also change, everything changes. I can give you the present context of our great Thiruvananthapuram member of parliament, Sashi Tharoor. Sashi Tharoor has continuously changed his opinion on issues several issues, in the recent times. Okay, so this cannot be a reason for
No, I think,
blaming RSS.
I think that's basically a fundamental aspect of, Hindu Dharma that you can, evolve. Basically, you have
Yeah,
to continuously.
evolution is part of your life, is part of
Because
human
if you
life.
look at in the past, we have seen, the Earth Shastra about which people talk. So, Earth Shastra was basically there were multiple Earth Shastra.
Yes,
All our scriptures basically they have been continuously evolved, whether it is the smritis
correct,
or it is the like I said Arthashastra, or even as a matter of fact the so these things have continuously evolved, and what we see today probably might be diametrically opposite to
correct.
like Sangh also in 1990s, early 1990s, if you see. So Sangh, when the this early years of globalization and no so-called reforms.
Hmm.
Sangh was Sangh inspired organizations and like Swadeshi Jagran Manch. So they were opposing FDI in basically most of the sectors.
Correct.
But
Even
today they are
computers.
not. Today the approach has changed. That okay,
Yeah,
along with the FDI, you also bring the technology and
correct.
do made in India. So the thing has evolved. Like earlier, insurance sector, consumers, sector, defense sector, health
Yeah,
sector. So these were a big no-no kind of a this thing. But today, it's a different kind of a challenge,
correct,
basically.
correct.
So that is, I think, the evolution we have. But I want to bring in one important point before wrapping up the conversation, because I think next part will start on that particular thing. Bipinji. During 1925 to 1940, several important personalities met, Dr. Hedgewar. Unfortunately, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose had gone to meet Dr. Hedgewar when he was on his deathbed, but they couldn't have a conversation, basically.
Yeah,
So there was a meeting which was scheduled, but somehow they could not meet one to one because Dr. Hedgewar was very unwell. But Netaji is known to have, huge respect for Dr. Hedgewar, and Dr. Hedgewar also had a huge respect for Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Apart from that, in 1934, Mahatma Gandhi visited the Varda camp of a Sangh, and in Pune, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar visited the an RSS Shaka and then a camp also in 1939. And both of them were very impressed by two things, which again brings Dr. Hedgewar back into focus. That was that during that time, one of the things which Dr. Hedgewar identified was that the caste discrimination is one of the key fault lines of Hindu society that needs to be done away with. So he built the RSS in such a way that in RSS nobody knows actually in Indian context it's our surnames generally which signify to which caste we belong.
right.
So in the RSS Shakha structure, so everybody addresses the other person with the first name, and along with that they use this G, which is a kind of a word which shows
Like
this,
Arun G. Bipin
like
Ji.
Arun ji, like Bipindra ji. So, like Shashi Tharoor ji.
Yeah,
So,
Shashi Ji.
Shashi
Tarun
ji,
Ji.
not Shashi ji. So he brought in, so at that time and then in the training camp, even if you go today, so this foundation was laid by Dr. Hedgewar that
Yes.
nobody knows what your caste is.
There is no caste divide in the Shaka.
Yeah,
Everybody is one and the same. They
yeah,
play together. They sit and eat together. They talk together.
yes.
They sleep together in the same location. They are there
And to
together.
start that in 1920s, and that too
1925 is
1925, and then and that too in Maharashtra. And the irony is that when Sangh was doing this, and Mahatma Gandhi is on record, very impressed about it. Dr. Hedgewar is on, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar is on record, being very
Ambedkar,
impressed about
Dr.
it.
Saab.
Yeah. So, and after that,
Incidentally, both of them are called as Dr. Saab.
yeah.
Dr. Hedgewar and Dr. Ambedkar both are called Dr. Saab.
Yes. And in
Yeah.
fact, one of the leading RSS ideologues, we'll talk about it later, Dattopandi Thegde. So he
He
was
was
the
the election
election
agent.
agent of Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. In fact, Dr.
Correct.
Bhimrao Ambedkar also made him a functionary in the SC/ST Federation, which
General Secretary. He was made the General Secretary of their labor union.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so overall, basically, this to end the caste discrimination and to bring the Hindu society together. And also the physical training aspect which he brought in, because that I just want to bring in an important point here, which most of the people do not know. Dr. Hedgewar, when he was an active, kind of armed revolutionary. So at that time, they used to, when he had moved back to Nagpur in early 1920s, so he was still a part of this revolutionary movement, though also along being within Congress. So he had organized, the local gymnasiums, which we call Vyayam Shalas. So they
Hmm.
were an important part of the overall scheme of things of armed revolutionaries also.
Right.
And Dr. Hedgewar
Physical
had
fitness.
built a huge network of, these Vyayam Shalas. And that was also one of the recruitment ground of armed revolutionaries.
Correct.
And that was also, they also used to act as the safe houses of the revolutionaries. So
Right.
these Vyayamshalas, and Dr. Hedgewar realized that Hindus have to be physically strong enough if you really want to not only defend yourself, first defend yourself and then defend your nation also. Because at that time, from early 20th century, if you look at the pattern of the communal riots against Hindus, so
Hmm.
Hindus were considered to be very docile and very, kind of non-assertive. I won't say non-aggressive, non-assertive, and very docile kind of a thing who can't do anything. So anybody can come and bash up. Two people can come to and bash up 100 Hindus, and can get away with it. So this was a general, and there is also a general sense of this docileness in Hindus because they used to think, okay, you know, they lacked that confidence that we cannot counter, the Muslim mobs or the mobs attacking us. So that confidence had to be brought in, and for that, this physical aspect is very important. This physical training. So that aspect, I don't think anybody during that, because even whether Arya Samaj, which was started about us around 1850, or whether it was Congress or any other organization, or even as a matter of fact, Hindu Mahasabha, this
Hmm.
aspect of creating physically strong volunteers or physically strong samsevaks. So this is a very overlooked upon. This is a issue which generally people don't give too much of importance to this. But this was a very significant thing, and because of this physical strength of the volunteers, they played a very important role in protecting Hindus during communal riots and especially during partition, which then led to basically a rapid expansion of Sangh. This Sharirik part basically, and the Sangh has an Akhil Bharati Sharirik Pramukh right from the beginning.
Yes.
So the Prachar Vibhag came later in 1980s. A lot of other Seva Vibhag also came later. There are a lot of
Much
other
later. Yeah.
departments, but this physical and intellectual.
And intellectual.
Yeah.
In
So
fact, that is an interesting aspect that you are mentioning because the Shaka concept itself is very unique, where a Swayamsevak or a person who comes in contact with the Shakas is physical capability, intellectual capability, is ability to think for the society, think about the problems of society, and also is cultural thought process. All these aspects, four aspects are covered by the Shaka. The only aspect that is not covered by the Shaka is the religious aspect. Shaka is probably the most secular place, and the Sangha Swayamsevaks are also the most secular because they never discuss religion. I have never heard of them discuss religion, either among themselves or in Shaka, and they don't do any puja part sort of a thing. Maybe individually, personally, they do, but as a RSS and RSS Shaka, they never do puja part. Maybe Shastra Puja they do. That's all.
in fact, I just want to tell
Except for
to the viewers, Balasaheb Devras, who was the third RSS Sarsanghchalak. So as far as my study goes, so he was an atheist.
he was an atheist, exactly. Even Savarkar was an atheist. I mean, though Savarkar does not have a direct connection with RSS, uh, Savarkar was an atheist. And he also led this anti-untouchability movement Even before many of these temple entry movements, Savarkar was among the first people to do this temple entry movement during his time. And also this Samabandi Bhojan. Sare Batke, I mean, everybody sit together and eating without any caste
Yes, yes.
discrimination. That was all done by these atheist Hindu cultural nationalists. Interesting.
So I think we can, round up the conversation here because it's part one of the conversation. And if there is anything left out, and we have tried to be factually correct. If we have gone factually incorrect somewhere, so that has not been intentional. But please do correct us.
Yeah.
And also, if you have any
We
queries,
are only observers. So because we are
yeah,
observers, our
yeah.
observations may be wrong sometimes,
Yeah.
but
So
yeah,
and I think that is again the essence of this thing that we can agree to disagree, but it's just basically an attempt to open a conversation about an open-ended conversation without any biases or preconceived notions about the largest organization in the voluntary organization in the world, which is turning 100, and it has made a huge impact in India, and now probably several countries are looking, the civil society movements in several countries are looking to implement the RSS model. So it will probably, you will see a global impact of this organization in next few years or few decades. So that's why it is important to understand the finer nuances and various aspects of RSS. That is what we are trying to bring to you. Vipinderji, thank you so much.
thank
And
you so much. I just want to add to what
yeah.
you said. If there are any suggestions on topics that you want us to cover in English, any issue that you think needs clarification, please do send your suggestions to us. We'll be more than happy to take up in the further episodes that we'll be doing on RSS at 100 years. This is going to be a year-long series, so we will be discussing almost every week uh, one topic or the other. Maybe the frequency might increase also based on the demand. So we suggest that you send us your questions, you send us your suggestions, and also if you think we have made a mistake on any issue, because we are only observers, so since we are observers, our observations may be wrong at some point in time. So if there are any mistakes, please do correct us. We are more than willing to correct ourselves, and we will mention those corrections in our episode and correct ourselves. Please do it with source so that we are able to authenticate this information that you are providing us. So that is my request to all our
Thank
viewers.
you. Thank you to the viewers for watching. Thank you, Bipinji. We'll be back, soon with another topic related to Sangh and have another, interesting
In
conversation on
in
this.
fact, probably in the next episode, we will start discussing about some of the issues like who was the real Dr. Hedgewar? Was he a congressman? Was he a revolutionary who did not agree with the Congress party's ideas? Or was he a purely Hindu activist? Let us discuss that. We'll
Yes,
start with that issue because these
absolutely.
are all issues that need to be clarified, and also we'll also try to understand the the structure of RSS as it exists, and what were the why RSS has been ignored in and Dr. Edgewar's contribution has been ignored in textbooks in schools and in college history books and stuff like that. So these are all issues that we'll be taking up. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
watching.